Hello, I'm Shirley Romaine, and this is Art Scene on Long Island, a program in which each week we bring you the artists, performing arts groups, and institutions that enrich the quality of our lives here on Long Island. My guest today is Carolyn Raphael, a poet, a true poet, a teacher of poetry, and she is actively spreading the word. My hat is off to her, really, because of that. And she's just published a new book of poetry. We're going to talk about that. And she has a wonderful project that she's about to launch, which I hope will be contagious. So it is my pleasure to welcome you, Carolyn, to Art Scene. I'm really delighted that you're here. And we have a lot to talk about because I know and you know that poetry is the best. Like that. See, we know that, so we have to spread the word. A few words about your background. Let me just introduce you in a proper way. You retired from the English department at Queensborough Community College, where you taught for 30 years. And your poems have appeared in many of the leading poetry journals, which is where most of our really good poets have written. Your chapbook, Diagrams of Bittersweet, was published in 1997. A chapbook is a little book. That's really what that designates?
40 pages.
Yeah, okay. And your real collection of poetry, which is The Most Beautiful Room in the World, was published in February of this year. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's interesting that you're going to be reading from your book at an event called Poetry in the Plaza, and that plaza is Village of Great Neck Plaza, their village hall. And that's going to be on April 18th, Sunday at 2 p.m. We're going to put more of that up on the bulletin board. But I just think it's a terrific thing for the village to be doing and for you to be doing. It sort of launches National Poetry Month,
that's why
which is April.
This year,
Yeah. That's a good time.
That's good.
It's a very interesting collection, informed by music, by art, by history, by personal experience. I think the cover that you have really gives us the clue, because it's very Renaissance. Could you just come in on this cover? Because I think it's I think there's a story there to tell. Here we are, yes. It's the most beautiful room in the world. There we are. Now, while we're still on it, tell us what that represents. What is that?
Well, this is, this is an oculus, which is a false window to the sky. It mimics the Pantheon in Rome, but it's painted. And it's a trompe l'oeil, which means, a trick of the eye.
Yeah.
It was painted by Mantegna in the 1470s, and it is one of the highlights of this beautiful vaulted ceiling in the Ducal Palace in Mantua.
In Mantua.
In Mantua.
Well, Mantegna was the person.
He was their court painter.
In Mantua. Oh.
And when the Duke finished this, the Gonzaga Duke, the people said it was the most beautiful room in the world.
So that's the room we're talking about. Okay, very good. Here it is. Oh, it's really lovely.
I also thought it would be fun because the word for room in Italian is stanza, which is the basic building block of poetry.
Well, it checks out. It really checks out. Were the poems written, I'm just curious, were the poems written over a long period of time?
Oh, yes.
Or were they, my question really was, you've answered it, but I'm wondering if this group of poems was inspired by something specific, if they're all addressed to that, so they're around the central theme, or are they poems that you've written over a period of time?
I've written them over close to 10 years.
Yeah.
And takes a long time to write and revise poems.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So these were collected, some of them years after I wrote them, and then revised before I published them.
Yeah, and you have them in 4 different sections, yes?
I think there are 7.
7? I thought it was 4.
Yeah, 7.
7. 7 different sections. So they kind of they round out the collection.
And I distributed some of the Italian poems throughout some of the headings.
Throughout, yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering, while we're talking about your poems, if you would read some of them from the book for us.
I would love to.
Please tell us, give us whatever introduction we need, because you've included it in your book, and I think it always heightens the experience of knowing what everything is coming from. So, what are you going to do?
I'd like to read a short poem, a form called a triolet, which is really only 8 lines, but it's very musical. In fact, the American composer Richard Lane set it to music because he heard the music as I did. And so it's performed with a viol de gamba sometimes.
Oh, lovely. What is it called?
It's called
again?
Girl Child. And it has to do with the fact that when I was growing up, girls were not first-class citizens. They've come a long way since I was a child.
I should say.
And so this is the way I felt being a girl in an all-male college. Well, not college, but all of my teachers in college were male. I never had a female teacher.
Isn't that interesting?
That shows you how long ago that was.
Oh, my gosh.
This is called Girl Child. I sang one song when I was young. Yours were the words and melody. Mine, the acquiescent tongue. I sang one song when I was young. My treble notes discreetly hung beyond the bass majority. I sang one song when I was young. Yours were the words and melody.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Do we have another? And that was what, a triolet?
That's called a triolet. It's a lovely little poem, 8 lines and only 2 refrains. You just hear the music recurring.
It's like very musical.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
It's a nice one. Just a classic sonnet. I played in a seniors orchestra. I played the cello. And I loved it because everybody was older and retired. And then one day,